Coming up tonight on Fifth Third Business Beat, big budget movie makers could bring their productions to town if they get the right incentive. From baseball to business, former Reds pitcher Joe Price gets a big promotion. An entrepreneur who is fond of cars begins his newest endeavor. Volunteering is helping the unemployed stay sharp and make contacts. These experts troubleshoot and manage databases for companies worldwide. Mary Hurlburt shares some strategies with Crystal Faulkner about keeping up your credit score in this time of economic concern. A Northern Kentucky businesswoman creates a forum for women to network. Fifth Third's John Augustine looks at the weekly economic forecast. And Bill Price, CEO of Empower Media Marketing, joins Doug Bolton for Publishers Beat.
Fifth Third Business Beat is brought to you in part by Fifth Third Bank and Cincinnati Bell.
Hello, I'm Brian Patrick, and welcome to Fifth Third Business Beat for Friday, May 15th, 2009. On the front page of the Business Courier this week, a proposed tax incentive that could lure the movie industry to film here in the tri-state. The tax incentive, if approved, would make Ohio competitive with 42 other states that already have such incentives. The Greater Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky Film Commission says this region is being considered for two major motion pictures. An incentive could close the deals. The proposed incentive would offer 25% rebate on the money spent in Ohio, with a cap of $5 million per project and a cap for the program of $20 million over 2 years.
And I think one of the things people forget is they hear movies and they immediately think entertainment and luxury, and what they don't think of is the jobs that it creates. And it's bringing a lot of jobs to the state of Ohio, not just on the movie sets, but also in transportation, construction, hotels, catering, hair, makeup, carpentry. There's so many different types of people that are hired on these productions, and they are good paying jobs, and that's what we want people in Ohio to take advantage of.
The incentive language is being added to Ohio's next two-year budget, which must be passed by July 1st. The state of Kentucky has a similar proposal that could be part of a legislative special session later this year. Former Cincinnati Reds pitcher Joe Price is on a new team these days, and he's the one in charge. Price was drafted by the Reds in 1977. He spent 11 years in the big leagues. He pitched for the Reds from 1980 through 86. Just last week, he was promoted to Chief Operating Officer of Huff Realty. Price joined Huff in 2002 as a loan originator. He then took over Huff's mortgage operation, tripling its size and making it profitable. He also assumed leadership of Huff's title and insurance divisions.
I've been working with the realtors and with our managers and the department heads for years, and so it was a very easy transition. Does anything pull from baseball to business? Certainly. The one thing that jumps out at me was my rookie year. Tom Seaver told me that, Joe, if you prepare yourself as good as you can mentally and physically, then it's a lot easier to live with the results whether you win or lose. And that's certainly true in business.
After retiring from baseball, Price began his business career in California, investing with his father in a bottled water company. They sold the company 10 years ago. An entrepreneur with a diverse business background is adding a car dealership to his list of companies. Ed Naira is buying Jaguar and Land Rover of Cincinnati from his friends, the Richard Linder family, whose REL Group owned the dealerships for 10 years. Despite a poor automotive market, Naira pursued this opportunity.
I am a car enthusiast, but one of the things that really struck me as a great opportunity was that the Ford Motor Company was selling the Jaguar Land Rover line to Tata Motors. I think Ford did a terrific job in raising the Jaguar Land Rover to a world-class manufacturing, but I do think that due to many factors that their focus was not on Jaguar Land Rover, and I think this is what Tata Motors brings to the brand.
The deal closed today, and by Monday, the Land Rover site in Blue Ash on Alpine Avenue will close temporarily. Inventory and operations will be combined at Jaguar's Montgomery Road location. Both brands will stay there until the site's lease expires next year. Then they'll both be relocated back to the Blue Ash showroom, which will have been expanded and renovated to green specifications. Some unemployed workers are finding that helping others looks good on their resume. A growing number of people who've lost their jobs are turning to volunteering to hone their skills, broaden their contacts, and continue to work. As president of the Fairfield Chamber of Commerce, Ginger Shawver had a steady job for 15 years. When she left, she realized a lot had changed since the last time she went on a job interview. She attended a meeting at the Job Search Focus Group for some guidance. Now she is the volunteer vice president of the organization.
You have more time than you've ever wanted, you ever asked for, you ever planned for. As a prospective employer, you look at people and what do they do with that time? People who give back and have concern for others, I think, are the ones that employers would want to hire.
The Job Search Focus Group meets at the Hyde Park Community United Methodist Church. Back to the front page of the Business Courier now, a story by senior reporter Dan Monk about the city's pension plan. Dan, the city is being advised to increase its annual contributions over the next 5 years. By how much, and what does this mean?
Well, by a lot. It paid $25 million to its pension obligations in 2009, and an advisor to the pension system is saying that that number needs to increase to $125 million in 2010, and then in the next 5 years it could go over $200 million a year. And basically it means City Council is going to have to make some hard choices in the next year.
So obviously there's concern here. What kind of shape is the plan in, and how much money has been lost?
Well, an annual report that's done by an actuarial consultant is going to be coming out here in the next week or so. And the early returns on that, an early briefing on that from the city's executive director of the Cincinnati Retirement System, that's John Boudinot. He says that he's been told that essentially that the plan's financial shape has gone from bad to worse. As recently as 10 years ago, the city had 170% of the assets it needed to cover pension obligations for a 30-year period, and now that number is below 90%. The city's unfunded liability, that's the amount it needs to restore to the pension system in order to fully cover those obligations over 30 years. The unfunded liability has gone from $307 million at the end of 2007 to likely more than $500 million. We'll know the number when the report comes out.
And the city hasn't fully funded its pension obligations, has it?
No. In 2009, it was required or asked to provide a $51 million payment, and it ended up contributing only $25 million. And it's had similar payments in recent years where the required payment is one number and then City Council ultimately funds less. The other problem with the city is that the retirement benefits, the health care benefits that are extended to some 4,500 retirees are relatively rich compared to private pension plans.
So is it inevitable that we're going to see reductions in those benefits?
It looks like that, yes. John Boudinot, the executive director of the retirement system, said that these new numbers are going to increase the pressure on City Council to come forth with some kind of benefit reduction. Dave Rager, the vice chairman of the Pension Board of Trustees, agreed that benefit reductions are more likely now with this new report. And he's also saying that City Council is going to have to start contributing more to the pension plan. So both of those things are likely to happen in the next several weeks.
Now, isn't the man who's been managing this fund, isn't he moving on now, and why?
Yeah, John Boudinot is leaving town. He came here 3 years ago thinking that his family was going to relocate from Missouri. They never did. They had trouble selling their house apparently, so he's moving back to the St. Louis area, took a job to manage a $3 billion pension fund for a hospital system there.
These concerns about pension funds, I'm sure, are not just unique to Cincinnati.
Yeah, one thing Dave Rager pointed out was that other pension plans, state-run systems, teachers' retirement systems, are in far worse shape than Cincinnati. Going into the downturn, he said Cincinnati had 90 to 92% of its future obligations funded. They had enough assets to cover those obligations. And there were other systems, the Illinois teacher system, for example, that going into the downturn had only 40% of the assets it needed.
One of the more interesting aspects of a recession. Thanks, Dan. Read Dan Monk's story on the front page of this week's Business Courier.